Hey everybody, Brad Linder back at you again with Brad Linder Creating Comics for the daily sketch card session. We're going to be doing more of Venom here. I'm going to be touching up on this thing and getting it knocked out. Bear with me while I share this over with the page and the channel. And then we are going to knock this out and go from there. So hang on just a moment. And there we go. Cool deal. Okay, now I'm going to continue with the penciling on this one, and we're going to knock it out. So hanging out with a little bit of time tonight, and we'll start in on this face with the eyes, the tendrils back here. I'm going to get the tongue and the eyes right off the bat here, and then I'm going to kind of detail out these these suit marks. So we're going to get right into this. And what I like to do is just give kind of a Kirby Crackle kind of thing going on with these little spots where he just has little specks here and there, and just leave it alone, just do that and move on. It's really simple. I'm not sure which artist. I think it was Mark Begley that did these the first time. I don't think Erik Larsen did these, but I might be wrong on that. I'm not sure which one of the two guys started this with the effects of the whole black specks in the eyes. I know that Erik Larsen started the whole tongue thing and big fangs with his incarnation of Venom in the Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man stories after he took over for Todd, and that was a big thing there. But whatever, it's okay. It's just comics. It really is all right. It's all fun and games anyway, because this dude is nuts. But I'm just adding a little bit of shadowing here and there for this great nasty big tongue, and getting a little bit of the ripple effect going on here, and making sure I'm on camera. Thanks, Samuel. I appreciate it. Just trying to get things centered up here. So this is a big piece, man. This is a really big piece. People have been making, I've had a couple of snarky comments because it's not just a card kind of deal, but whatever. There's always got to be a bad apple out there mouthing about something. But whatever. I don't take that stuff personal. I think it's funny. But anyway, we're moving along here, just kind of giving this tongue ripples here and there and giving it some life and some musculature, which is making it even more gross when you think about it, because that's the power of flexibility and all that, where it's actually moving. So we got that going on, and then we got some really cool little effects here and there. I need to punch out this lead here and get to the new. There we go. Cool. I had just a tip of lead there, and I needed to get it out of there. So bear with me while I push up some more, and I might need to switch over. And naturally, it's going to break off on me, so I'm gonna have to put another piece of lead in here. But anyway, while I'm doing that, I was just going to tell you guys, I decided that this piece is going to be part of the sketchbook, and it is going to be marketed, so you can get your hands on it. And if you're just joining me, I'm changing LEDs right at the moment. That's the reason I'm off camera. So bear with me just a second. And to save time here, I'm just going to switch up, I think, because this one's fighting me. So I will go to my 7, and we won't worry about it. I'll just punch up more lead here. Maybe. Oh, that's all right. I'll just edge it out with the 9. See, I do, this is live, and this is what I do. I prep that pencil, and it's got a lead stuck in it, so I'm going to just move on for expediency's sake. And we'll just do this with the 9. It's going to be a little darker because it's a little thicker, but it'll work. So I can still get this done, because I don't want to keep you guys waiting while I'm changing out lids. But live. That's what it is, folks. Ta-da! That's why we have multiple pencils on hand, so that we can get that stuff done. Cracks me up. I don't fret over much of anything, really. I don't like fretting. Fretting is stress making its presence known. I don't like fretting. So I just move on to the next pencil. It's okay. And it's actually doing a better job because it's threading this out a lot better to where it's popping up and looking a little more dynamic in the process. So I'm cool with that. But anyway, we're going to go from there. So we got all this going on. All this fun stuff is mapped in. And there we go. Cool. Now that we have the tongue and we have the eyes, I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to push this up just a little bit so you guys can see. Hey, Johnny, glad you made it on, man. I'm going to do this this ribbon here. And there we go. Cool deal. And it's okay if I don't match up the line perfectly, because whenever I do this, I'm going to shade it in anyway with what I call Venom style. So it doesn't really matter as much. So we'll be able to make that happen. And there we go. Cool deal. So like I said, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with this. Since I'm already using the 9, I'm going to line this out. And I'm just going to go in here and do these details and get this going. So we have that, and we'll curve it so it looks like it's twisted. And under normal circumstances, I would fine line this and then just gray it in. But with me using this 9, I want to just go ahead and get it worked out. A little raw. And I like it that way because then it doesn't have to be as tight and confined. I'm going to put in this little button here on this point and right down here like that. I'm going to leave that side highlighted. And there we go. Cool deal. Now we got those going. So next step, I'm going to pull up my 3 here because I don't want to do massive lines on this one. As we work on this chest here, I'm going to go in right here and just do the curve of the pec right there. Boom. Just a little bit of a line and just fine line it like that. And that's it. That's all it takes. Really, seriously, that's all it takes. Just a little bit of a line like that to show the curvature. And that's it, because it gives it that ripple. So we're good there. Now I'm going to go over to this other side and do the same thing. And back up here just a little bit, go the other direction so it gives it that upswing of that curve. So now we've got that in. That is it, man. Seriously, that is all it takes, is just that little bit of mark. And if you go off crazy with it, it will pop out on you and look weird. So you can't overwork this very easily. And that's a big thing with me. I don't want to overwork it, so I go in minimalistically. And now we're going to do the old Abba Dabbas here. So I'll pull this back down a little. Yes. Okay. I'm going to go in here and do the same thing with the abs. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with a fine line right here and pop in these little marks. And that's all we're going to do is kind of go in and shade it under like this. And that is it. Because I don't want to do too heavy with it, because like I said, it tends to get overworked. And if you start doing that, you'll get all freaky with it, and it won't work out the same way as if you put in just those critical marks. Because you'll get crazy. You will. You'll go all nuts with it, and you won't even realize it. And then it'll be a black and white line work piece rather than the detailed piece that you wanted. So I have a tendency to overdo that, and I try to stay away from that because of the simple fact that I will go all out and overdo it, and then it'll be like, why is this black and white now? You know, it almost looked like a noir piece kind of thing. It'll get to where you just put so much detail into it that it doesn't need color, and if you colored it, it'll ruin it. So, and if you do that with mainstream comics, it'll look weird, and it looks unprofessional when you do it because of the fact that it's not supposed to be that grade of work. You know, you're not drawing black and white comics, and if you're not drawing black and white comics, there's no need to draw with that kind of detail. So it's a little bit different. And some people will disagree with that, and I'm fine with that if you do. But I personally like it to be nice and clean, and like to keep the work simple. But, you know, like Relapse that I'm working on, that piece is supposed to be color as well, but it has some black and white pieces in it that I've worked as black and white pieces, and that's the reason why. You know, some of the flashback sequences and whatnot are in black and white, and that's the way they're supposed to be. So with that artistic understanding, that's why I'm able to do that. Now we can see Venom coming out of this and starting to get a little bit more detail work, which I'm really, really digging. And I haven't done the teeth yet. I will be going back up to the teeth. But I wanted to do the abs first to get them cut in and functional for the piece here. And I wanted to get this design work in, because this is kind of an homage to Todd with this piece, because the way I'm detailing these right now is something he would do with all the little finite details and the little scribbles and squiggles and whatnot that he liked to do. So, or likes to do, because he's still alive, not past tense. What happened to Todd McFarlane? I can just see it now. So we're going to put in a couple of those little squiggles like that. Like I said, I don't like to overwork it, so I'm doing that because it's the white and the gray. And I want to go back up in here and do just a little bit more on it to balance that out. But we're pretty much going to leave this open, other than one mark here, one mark there kind of deal, because I don't want to do 80 different little marks and make it weird. So there we go. There, cool. Now his abs are done and the stingers on the end are done. So what I'm going to do is go back up to this jaw and these teeth here, and this is the perfect pencil for this. I'm going to go in here and kind of leave these little marks like this on his teeth. Just kind of this little three-dimensional rays on to make them look triangular. And by doing that, it's popping them out. So just adding that little edge to it, that little ridge. And I'm not doing it on every one because I don't want to, you know, some of the smaller teeth you don't want to do that to, because then it'll make them look weird, or make them look manufactured by making them look, you know, just monotonous, all the same thing. You don't want to do that either. So now he's got all the ridges on his teeth, and I'm going to go right in here to the eye and put a little dot right there, and then I'm going to put a little one right down here. And you don't want to do this too much because it's not lenses. They're not lenses, they're eyes. So I like the idea of leaving them open and not messing with them too much, because some people like to do that, and then you end up with this over detailed, horrible mess. But for me, this character deserves it. He really does. He deserves the time and the patience to make it really pop out and look good. So that's what I'm giving it. Just these little marks like this are all we need, and that's it. Cool deal. Now, now that that's going on, I'm going to slide this up a little bit, and we're going to work on this leg. Lip in peace. Jeez, Johnny. Really, man? The pointillism approach. Johnny's asking me if I've ever attempted the pointillism approach. I can't say that I have, so I can't say that I have. It may be called something else in what I referenced, so I don't know. But as far as that goes, I don't know. But anyway, that may be something I have to look into. And we're doing these long strokes here to get this laid down. And now I'm going back over to darken it up. And I've been sitting on the fence about this one because I didn't know if I was going to go ahead and just go all out and leave it as pencils, or if I was going to try and ink this one too. But this piece is getting so detailed for the background and stuff, because I've added in a bunch of the layouts and whatnot, and you know, the design. And I haven't gone as far as going into the brickwork yet, but I'm planning on doing something with it. But it'll be up to you guys if I go ahead and pencil this out and flesh it out and leave it alone, or if I ink it up. I'm going to give you guys that option. If you want to see the full color piece, then awesome. If not, then that's fine too. I don't know if I'm going to ink this up or not and color it. We'll have to see. And I think I'm going to do something cool with this one, because I don't know if I'm going to color it by hand if I do color it, or if I'm going to digitally color it. That could be something interesting. And I don't know if I'll do that live or not either. So we will see. So if you're a fan and you want to know what's going on, be sure and speak up, because now's your chance. Because otherwise, you may miss out. You may miss out. You may miss out. You may miss out. Just saying. And then it'll be a print, and I'll color it, and it'll be something funky, and somebody will get it and be all upset, and I'll just be like, well, you didn't vote. It's all your fault. You didn't vote. So you should have said something, dadgummit. That'd be funny. Somebody getting all mad. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and shadow that right out to the edge. I'm happy with it that way. That killer kneecap. And yes, I know that's not quite what it should be, but with this guy, you can never tell anyway. So that's why I do it that way, because I tried to do a little research on it and figure out what Venom's kneecaps would look like, but they're not true kneecaps. They're squiggles. And at least I put in the definition of having a formal full kneecap. So If you complain about it, you complain about it. It is what it is. With this guy's form being silhouette, it's, you know, it's one of those things, man. The anatomy's there. It's just with this guy, you can never tell, and it doesn't look right when you do proper human anatomy on him sometimes because he's so overdeveloped. It looks weird anyway. So a popped knee was the way I went. So that's what we got, and I'm happy with it. So it's all good. And like I said earlier, there's always going to be critics, so I don't sweat that. I just delete them and move on because I don't want my fans to cause friction and be stressed like that. You know, I see people all the time defending me for stuff. You know, they'll come to the rescue, and it's like I don't want to. Or you know, in other posts they'll come to the rescue and stuff, and not necessarily me, but for other people. And it's just I don't want them doing that. So that's not what this is about. If you don't enjoy it, move on. That's what I got to say about it. If you don't enjoy it, move on to where you do enjoy something. It's not for you. That's cool. I'm okay with that. Because if you don't like my stuff, then that means that I'm doing something right, because that means I have a unique voice. Because if everybody liked it, then it wouldn't be good. It would be mediocre. And I'm a hardcore fan of that. So I'm a hardcore fan of that in my marketing as well as in my art. So, you know, you can't please everybody all the time. And if you try to, you're not going to be making any money. And you're not going to be making any original pieces, and you're going to be down in the dumps. So, got to do your thing, man. Symbiotes are people too. Oh, Lord. Okay. That's funny. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. At least partially people. That's like when they set up. That's when they set up Halloween targets at the targeting range, and you know all year round it's people, you know, like gangsters and whatever. It's people cutouts, and then all of a sudden, you go into the shooting range and it's like monsters hanging up. It's okay to shoot monsters on Halloween, but it's not a. But it's okay to shoot people the rest of the year. No. So, I've always found that ironic. And being from a military and law enforcement background, you know, family and personal, it's just crazy, man. I used to work in law enforcement, and you know, most of my family's been in some form of civil service, of military or law enforcement as well. And it's just, yeah, man. It's just like you shoot people all year round, and you get excited about shooting the werewolves at Halloween. You shoot targets. Come on, man. But for those people that are in the line of fire like that, I honor them and appreciate them, plain and simple. And unbeknownst to politics and news, whatever you believe, we're not going there. As you know, I will delete it. I don't want to have that discussion. But what I'm saying is, for the men and women that are out there protecting us and doing their job and doing the right thing, no matter who they come in confrontation with or in direct contact with, I hope that they're doing their thing and they're being safe out there, you know, that kind of thing. And for the citizens that get confronted by that stuff, man, I'm sorry about that. I hate that that happens, but it is, you know, it is reality, unfortunately, that we have to deal with on both sides. On both sides. There's a responsibility to both sides. But anyway, we're not going political on that, so we're going to leave that alone and stop that right there. But, you know, I say just keep the peace, man. Both sides, keep the peace. And going right in here, do this inner thigh here and build this up. And in case you don't know, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. So, um, if you know anybody that has something going on, show them a little extra support. You should do that all year round anyway. But I'm saying if you know anybody like that, then give them some props. Give them some support and uh, share the love a little bit. You know. So hugs are free, man. So are smiles. And there's an abundance of them. As long as we're living, breathing, and walking, we can walk up and give somebody a smile or a hug and just be nice. Just be nice. So we need to work on that. We need to teach the next generation to be a little nicer. They're so now happy with all the technology and everything that they have going on, they tend to forget that people skills are important too. It's not just about your latest likes and posts. It's about how cool of a person you are, not how much of a jerk you can be. I mean, I understand confrontation and I understand being a shock jock and, being a character persona. That's one thing, but not to the point of hurting someone else. If you're deliberately hurting other people, you got a problem. You need to check up. You know what I mean? Be nice. Be nice. So there's no reason to be mean. Be nice. So, but anyway, that's just my 2 cents on it. As far as this goes, we are knocking this bad boy out, and it's getting close. It's getting close. It's getting close. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and finish this out on this leg, on this knee here. Then I'm going to go back up and finish out the pelvis, and then I'm going to look at where we're at time-wise and see what's next. Maybe this shin, and go ahead and finish him out today. I don't know. But I want to get that ribbon over there as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and flesh out the background and go ahead and get us set up for the next one to where I can show you guys how to do that. Because, a lot of people freak out over backgrounds and things, and they never layer up. And it freaks me out when people do that, because it's like, why? Why? I mean, I'm in total shock of it, literally. Not much shocks me, and you guys know that, but this particularly bothers me. And I mean, it's just frustrating that so many artists don't know how to layer depth. And, they kick out this stuff, and they think manga influences this, and they think anime influences that, and they think, Western styles are this or that, and it's crazy stuff, man. Learn the fundamentals and learn animation is the best step for this. But I'll tell you, think about this. You've got Venom here, right? We'll step on this real quick before I move forward. You got Venom here in the foreground. He's obviously in the foreground. He's breaking the panel here. Let me get this sheet out of the way. And I did say sheet. He does a border break right here, a panel break right here. He is definitely in the foreground, okay? And then we have this border crossing in a three-dimensional layer with him because his feet are behind it and his other arm is behind it, but he's coming through. So those two things are in the foreground. And then in the background, we have these details on the ground here that I'm working in, and we've got this trash can right behind him on the edge of this one building right here. This is going to be a building with the bricks. And then we're going to have a dumpster over here, and this is the background for another building that runs down behind him right here. Right here, this wall is another building. And then we have the street horizon line back there. We'll get some stuff going on back there. And then there's another building up in the skyline that you guys have seen. So we've got that going on. The trash cans and the dumpsters, the trash can and the dumpster and the brick wall are in the middle ground. So Venom's up in front, the border's up in front. Then we have the trash can right over here, this box of stuff, and then the brick wall. then the horizon line back here on the street, and then behind that there's a building right across the street there, and then there's the skyline for the deep background. Okay, it layers up. It layers up. Show that stuff in your panels and in your pictures, and show how it builds out. You know, nobody does that. Nobody breaks it down to where they can show all that cool stuff, and I just think it's a horrible mistake to teach people just to do pinups, which I know a lot of these cards are, but for sake of expediency, I'm knocking it out in that format and just going boom, 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 so you guys can see the layers. And when you look at it visually like that in layers, it'll give it a much richer effect. And we as fans have gotten so jaded in the concept of thinking that we know more than the artist that we read or that we follow, that we think we've gotten a professional level of quality to where we can critique them because we are the customer. Okay, and we're mistaking being the customer for the editor. Big mistake. Big mistake. We're damaging the industry because we're doing that so much and so often. We have to quit that. I mean, literally. If you're a comic book fan, don't go in and rip these guys apart because you don't like this stuff. Because you know what? If you can't draw better than they do, or at least as good as they do, and go in and make the professional seat and take their job for at least one issue, don't go in and criticize them. You know what I mean? I do this independently on a different level, and I work with a lot of those guys, and I don't knock them. You know, I stay away from the guys that are egotistical and ego-driven and want to hurt the industry and want to abuse their fans to feed their egos rather than doing the work, which bothers me to no end. But in this instance, though, remember where you're at. Remember where you're at. If you're an artist and you're a professional, that's one thing. But if you're a fan, remember you're a fan, not an editor. There's a difference. Respect the artist. Respect the writers. Respect the creators. You know, if you don't like the story, then say that. Say, all due respect, but I wish this would have gone a different direction. Don't tell them you hate them and they're wrong for doing their job and you're buying their books just to rip on them because you don't like it and you get butthurt about how their character's handled. You know, they have editors that they have to deal with and writers they have to deal with just as much as anybody else. You know, every step of the way, we all have to deal with all this stuff. And that's one of those things where you either come in and you handle it or you stand there and you twiddle your thumbs and, you're a jerk about it. I see that all the time. Don't be a crabby fan, Don't be a hater because you can't draw and wish you could, but yet you think you owe someone, a paycheck because you're buying their book. I'm sorry, no, you don't. And fans have gotten babied and spoiled in that regard, and they've lost their way out of the fan base and thinking that everybody's a superstar and whatnot, and because everybody can have a blog now, that they've gotten in this technology-based mentality to where they come up and they just start ripping on people. And I'm sorry, that's your opinion, and you don't have the right to do that, And that's why I'm not ripping on you now. I'm just asking that you don't do it. If that's your MO, don't do that. Now, if that's a character thing you got going on for your blog or whatever, I understand that. Shock jock type of personalities are okay for in that, that instance, because everybody knows that they're a character and you leave it alone at that. But if you're a butt about it, then you need to go on and find something else to do instead of griping about everybody else. Because one, you'll live a better, happier life, and two, so will they. But, if you got something nasty to say, keep it to yourself. You know what I mean? Stop ripping on everybody. And be a better fan. Support the industry. Don't rip it. Because it's not helping by you complaining. It's not. It's really not. If you got to complain about it, put it in an editor's notice and let the editor know. Let the editors know, because that's the one that pulls the final trigger on what happens in a book anyway. Seriously, it is. It absolutely is. They are the one that can decide and make and break those scenarios. And if you don't like it, write the editor and tell them you don't like the book. And if they don't like it, then write above them, write to the editor-in-chief or write to the publisher. 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell you flat out, I'm sorry you feel that way. We'll see what we can do about that. And they'll be very, very helpful with it, But it depends if you're a jerk about it or not. So it depends if you're a jerk about it. Because I've had a couple of people come at me, over the years and just say, well, this sucks and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, okay, cool, whatever. Thanks for your opinion. And I'm out. So I see that all the time. And I thought I was going to get into, a physical altercation once over a comic book. I think I've talked about this before. A small store appearance that turned into like 300 people and turned into like a mini con type of thing. And I had a bunch of young artists coming up to see me and a couple of the guys here local that were appearing. And all of a sudden, these couple of hecklers came in and started ripping on these kids and their artwork. And it was, not teenagers. We're talking 20-year-old guys coming in and hanging around and ripping on the kids and ripping on the comics and making fun of people that were cosplaying, that were visiting, and all this mess. And I finally had to step up on it. I was like, we're here for a reason, and if you don't want to participate in that, you need to go. And the shop owner and I escorted them out, and that was the end of the deal. And I was just like, man, they made a 8-year-old little girl cry because of her artwork, and they ripped on her, and she was there to show us her work. And that was one of those things, man, I just don't stand for that stuff. And it's happened a couple of times in different scenarios, and it's every time it comes up, I instantly squash it. You're not an editor, you're not a fan of the book. If you're ripping on it, don't buy it. If I say a book sucks, I don't buy that book. Same thing you should do. Don't support books you don't like. Don't support companies you don't like. If you don't like it, hit them in the wallet. Tell them what you need them to do. You know what I mean? And that's the same thing in marketing. If you don't like the way someone does something, don't go after them. Just don't buy their stuff. Don't follow their stuff. I see people ripping on certain marketers all the time, and it's just like, really? I use them as references, but I don't necessarily rip on anybody. I try not to anyway. I try not to gossip, but whatever comes of it, comes of it. But, in that instance, if you're out there talking smack, you better be ready for some retaliation if you keep talking it, because you're going to get noticed, especially in a small, tight community. And I've had a couple of artists call me out saying that I've said stuff and, I haven't said squat about them. And they get butthurt over an opinion or a joke or something stupid. And it's just, man, really, grow up. And then I see these artists posting all the time in these groups and forums and stuff under their own name, the art of whatever. And you'll see them in there and they'll be like, man, so-and-so said my artwork looked like so-and-so, and I don't ever draw like so-and-so. And it's just, please. I've talked about that before. We won't need to go there again. But, yeah, there are select artists that I won't throw under the bus for saying stuff like that. But they're feeding the fan frenzy. And if you're a fan like that is there to support the artist and, share the hate. That's the easiest way to put it. I'm trying to put it as politely as possible. If you're there to share the hate, then I say go the heck home. You know what I mean? If you want to hate, sit there and hate. That's fine. That's your sad day. But don't ruin it for everybody else, and don't come at some kid or anybody for that matter for doing what they love to do and they're passionate about it. If it's marketing, if it's art, I don't care if it's You know, if they like to collect butterflies, I don't care what it is. If they like to believe in unicorns, hey man, whatever. Have you ever seen one not to prove it? Then who are you to bust that bubble? You know what I mean? So people just need to get their egos in check and out of it. So, but I see that kind of stuff all the time, and I'm consistently boycotting it. And I'm a huge advocate of, be nice, just be nice. And if you can't be nice and you got to be a jerk about it, whatever, you're living a very sad life, and I feel for you, but I'm not going to pity you, and I'm not going to play to it. So it's up to you how I respond to you. And it's probably the most outspoken I've been on this show, believe it or not. It's pretty cool. But that's pretty cool. But yeah, man, I mean, it's just one of those things where so many people come at it, and this bullying thing's getting really bad. And, artists think that they're gods on earth because of the fact that they get a little praise. And, yeah, you have to be confident and know you're good, but you don't have to be an ass about it. Excuse my language, but it's true. But then you don't have to be, in somebody's face busting them down to make you feel better because you can't do it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I hope that does. Vote with your wallet. Yeah, no kidding. So I'm gonna do a little bit on this trash can here, and then I'm gonna call it because we've been on long enough. I don't want to keep this going all night. Okay, some other stuff to get going, and I know you guys do too. I appreciate hanging out, but I want to keep this relatively cool and running. And you can tell I'm passionate about it. I actually got a swear in there, which I normally don't do. But and for the kids watching, I apologize for that. But it's true, though. I mean, it's definitely something we've got to think about, And so many artists go in and think that they're God's gift to everybody and get their egos in there. And it's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's not right. And then you get things going on where these other guys come in and start heckling people and messing with people, or go online and say something stupid, just because they can. And it doesn't mean they should, because not everybody agrees with their funny, I mean, you shouldn't be mean at somebody else's expense just to make a funny. That's no good. That's no good. So, and everybody's like, well, that's what comedians do, and that's what everybody laughs at, man. That's what they do. No, they don't. They give you an experience of a story. And just because someone got in a situation doesn't mean that they got necessarily on someone. And if they get stuck in that situation, it's normally about them. And I work with a lot of comedians, and I do that kind of work. So believe me, I don't let loose on here, but I tend to be a pretty funny guy from time to time. I really am. But that's personal, I do that kind of stuff to make my kid laugh, not keep you guys ripped up. But that may change. I may get to the point where I do that. I'm not comfortable with that yet. So I don't know. Maybe in the future. Maybe. I'm starting to cut up a little bit now and again. But yeah. But if you're being, a jerk to people, quit it. And if you are, and you'll watch this and you'll be like, I'm not a jerk. And you'll be like, oh yeah, I am. And yeah, if you are, you are. So quit it. But that's where we're at. And I've got that outlined. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish on this box here just a little bit more, because I want to get this done and push through on this piece right here. Boom. Done deal. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the bottom layer of this thing and get a little dimension to it, a little depth. Think like that. Put in that little rock right there. And now we've got Venom with the trash can in place. I'm going to put in the stuff with the smaller detail when I replace the lid in the 7. Or in the 5, whichever the case may be. And we are going to go on to the next one, to where I'm going to come back tomorrow and finish this bad boy up. Maybe Sunday. I might take the day off tomorrow. I don't know. I'll post to let you guys know, because I definitely want to finish this one this weekend. But being off of the daily track, I'm trying to get out of that habit of keeping it going every single day. Just to pass things along here and get us moving into the next stuff, so I can get the site live and get the comic out and comics out, and get the get Relapse going online for you guys, and all that cool stuff that I've been promising for a while that's going to come down the line as soon as this book was done and the sketchbook is almost completed with this piece here. So I'm going to go ahead and say, as always, you guys know how it is. We've got this rock for a limited amount of time. It's a great party we call life on this great mixed up roller coaster of this experience. And we got to leave it stocked up and ready to go for the next generation. So with that said, here's one more look at Venom, nice and close here. It's coming up really well. And I'm going to say, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.